السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Managerial Accounting Chapter 5 Break-Even Analysis تحليل التعادل. Compute the break-even point حساب نقطة التعادل using 3 approaches باستخدام 3 طرق مختلفة. حساب نقطة التعادل. Break-even analysis process of finding the break-even point نقطة التعادل. Break-even point نقطة التعادل level of activity at which total revenues equal total cost. عند break-even point بيكون عندي total revenue equal total cost. total cost مقصود بها كل من both fixed and variable cost. In other words, when net income equals 0, here's the break-even point, net income equal 0. Here's the break-even. When a 0 net income, we on break-even. So when net income 0, we on break-even. Break-even analysis process of finding the break-even point level of activity. This level of activity at which total revenues equal total cost can be computed or derived using 3 approach from a mathematical equation, by using contribution margin, or from a cost value profit graph. This break-even point expressed either in sales units or in sales dollars. Break-even point makes expressed in sales unit or in sales units or on sales dollars. Again, the break-even point can be computed or derived in 3 different ways, and we can express the break-even point with sales units or sales or sales dollars. On the break-even point, the net income 0. Break-even occurs when total sales equal variable cost plus fixed cost. Net income is 0. This is very important for true and false questions. Break-even occurs when total sales equal variable cost plus fixed cost. Also, net income is 0. Computation of break-even point in units. Here's the data. Sales value in units is Q. selling price 500, variable cost per unit 300, and total fixed cost 200,000. From this data, we need to compute the break-even point in units. A break-even points in units from the equation required sales minus variable cost minus fixed cost equal net income. Now we will use a mathematical equation. First we use a mathematical equation to calculate break-even point in units. Mathematical equation, as you see, required sales less variable cost less fixed cost equal net income. Required sales 500 per unit times Q less variable cost 300 times Q less 200,000 equal net income 0. So Q equal 200,000 divided by 200, Q equal 1,000 unit. So break-even point equal fixed cost divided by unit contribution margin, also 1,000 unit. So computation of break-even point in units. Quantity break-even points in units equal fixed cost 200,000 divided by unit contribution margin, which is 500 less 300 equal 200. Again, break-even point in units equal fixed cost 200,000 divided by unit contribution margin. As you learn, unit contribution margin is the difference between selling price and variable cost per unit. At the break-even point, contribution margin must equal total fixed cost. At the break-even point, contribution margin equal fixed cost. Contribution margin equal total revenue less variable cost equal 0. Must be 0 contribution. Contribution margin must equal total fixed cost. Contribution margin total revenues minus variable cost equal contribution margin. Break-even point can be computed using either contribution margin per unit or contribution margin ratio per unit or ratio. As you see as the equation, break-even point in units, fixed cost divided by unit contribution margin. So formula for break-even point in units using contribution margin in units. When the break-even point in units is desired, contribution margin per unit is used in the following formula. Fixed cost 200,000 divided by unit contribution margin 200 equal break-even point in units 1,000 unit. Again, break-even point in unit equal fixed cost divided by unit contribution margin. It's easy. Now, contribution margin ratio when the break-even point in dollars is desired. we divided by contribution margin ratio. Contribution margin ratio is used in the following formula: fixed cost divided by contribution margin ratio equal break-even point in dollars. Fixed cost 200,000 divided by contribution margin ratio 40% equal 500,000. As you know, we compute contribution margin ratio 40% by dividing 200 by 500 is 40%. Again, here's in units. In units, when we need the break-even point in units, we divide by unit contribution margin, which is 200, the difference between selling price and variable cost. But when we need the break-even in dollars, we divide fixed cost by contribution margin ratio. How we calculate 40%? As you know, the contribution margin per unit 200. 200, we need to show it in ratio. We divide 200 by the selling price 500 equal 40%. Also, I can reach this answer in other way from break-even in units 1000 times the selling price 500 equal 500,000. So break-even point in dollars equal break-even in units 1000 times the selling price per unit 500. Or we divide fixed cost by contribution margin ratio. So break-even point in dollars, we can calculate it in two ways. Also, we can figure cost value and profit graph for the break-even point. As you see here, here's the fixed cost line 200,000. Here's the total cost line. Here's the sales line. Also, if we want to see the break-even point, it's here. Break-even point here. When the net income is zero. Net income is zero. As you see, break-even point in units 1000 unit here, and in dollars 500,000. Break-even point in dollars 500,000. When total revenue equal total cost, we at break-even point. Before this level, the company realize loss area, as you see, loss area here. If the value of sales less than 1000 unit, the company will realize losses. But if the sales volume above 1000 unit, the company will realize profit. Here's the profit area. Profit area. Again, here's the break-even point. Before this level, the company will realize loss area. realized losses. After this point, the company will realize a profit area. هنا multiple choice question. G company is planning to sell 200,000 players for $4 per unit. The contribution margin ratio is 25%. If G will break even at this level of sales, what are the fixed costs? If this level is the break even, it means the contribution margin equal the fixed cost. Again, is planning to sell 200,000 players for $4 per unit. The contribution margin ratio is 25%. If G will break even at this level of sales, what are the fixed costs? Now, when we at the break even, contribution margin equal fixed cost. If we know how much the contribution margin at this level, the answer the same for fixed cost. Now, when the contribution margin is ratio is 25%, so the contribution margin for the sales will be 200,000. Now, if the sales will be 200,000 times 4 equal 800,000. The sales level now will be 200,000 unit times 4 equal 800,000. The contribution margin equal 800,000 times 25% equal 200,000. Do it. It's easy. Break-even analysis. Al company has a unit selling price of $400. Variable cost per unit $240 and fixed cost 180,000. Compute the break-even point in units using first a mathematical equation. Here's the mathematical equation: sales less variable cost less fixed cost equal net income. You will take your time to compute the break-even point in a mathematical equation. Take your time. Now sales will be 400 times Q less variable cost $240 times Q less fixed cost 180,000 equal net income will be 0. So 160 Q less 100 less 180,000 equals 0. Here's Q 160 Q equal 180,000. We can compute break-even point by dividing Q will be 180,000 divided by 160. Also here we can compute break-even point per unit. The contribution margin using contribution margin per unit, break-even point in units, fixed cost 180,000 divided by contribution margin per unit. Contribution margin per unit 400 less 240. Contribution margin per unit equal 180,000 divided by 160 equal 1,125 unit. Will be the same answer in here. Q will be equal the same answer, 1125 unit. So we here calculate break-even point using a mathematical equation. When we determine Q equal 180,000 divided by 160 equal the same answer in B, 1125 unit. Next recording we will take target net income and margin of safety. As the last learning objective in chapter 5, which determines the sales required to earn target net income and determine margin of safety.